اللهم صل على محمد يا ربي وارزقنا الشهادة اللهم صل على محمد يا ربي حطنا بالسعادة اللهم صل على محمد يا ربي حفظانك وأمانك اللهم صل على محمد يا ربي أسكننا جنانك اللهم صل على محمد يا ربي صل عليه وسلم.
Allah, Allah, Bismillah. If the family can come to the front, the brothers, the children, grandchildren, and if you are standing next to a sheikh, and then everybody looks like, mashallah, mashaykh, may Allah make us all of the ulama, inshallah, ameen. Bismillah. Bismillah. Mawlana Salim is just going to share a few words, inshallah, and then we will continue, inshallah.
Wow. Ya Allah.
We can sit down, inshallah. The Mawlana is still going to share a few words, and then we will stand up after, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Bismillah.
You come here, come here. Where is he? Come sit here, Zain.
The brothers that wish to sit down can sit, inshallah, and then Mawlana Salim will share a few words. Mawlana, tafadhal.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك آمين يا رب العالمين وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Wow, Allahu Akbar. If my father could see you all together here in one masjid, Allahu Akbar, he would be so happy. Yo. So I have absolutely no idea where to start, but we start with Kitabullah, have to. My sister opens my daddy's phone. He used to read his khatam regularly from his phone. And he would stop at ta'in. He stopped us at ta'in. So where was he reading? So she looks at the verses and she sees the ain that he stopped. In other words, that was the last two verses that he had recited. And that's most now we stopped by the ain. So she looks at the two verses, and what do the verses say? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Al-mulku yawma idhin lillah. The kingdom on that day belongs to Allah alone. يَحْكُمُ بَيْنَهُمْ. He, Allah, is the one that decides amongst them. فَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. And those who believe and do good deeds, fi jannatin na'im. They will be in gardens of bliss and enjoyment. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا. But those who reject and they belie our signs, فَأُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُهِينٌ. Those are the ones that will have a painful, humiliating punishment. Oh Allah, protect us from that punishment. Ameen. So that's the ayn. And in her mind, she tells me, this nou die laaste wat Abu nou gebutcher het. And subhanallah, who was Abu? If anybody of you know who was Abu, then by Allah, he was a man of good deeds. He was a man of good deeds. Those that will know him from the masjid, good deeds. Those that will know him from his business, good deeds. And we have many that can testify to that. And now the next rizqan hasana. Allah will most definitely give them a good sustenance. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَهُوَ خَيْرُ الرَّازِقِينَ. And indeed Allah is the best of those that can give rizq. And what is that rizq going to be? لَيُدْخِلَنَّهُمْ مُدْخَلًا يَرْضَوْنَهُ. He will definitely enter them in such an entrance, in such a manner that they are going to be pleased with it. And how did Allah enter him into that entrance? By Allah, he was in the masjid for Fajr on Monday morning. By Allah, he had suhoor with my mother on Monday morning. He was fasting on Monday. Allahu Akbar. And Allah then decided, my Suleiman, my Abu, you must come back now. Allahu Akbar. So, everything ensues on Monday. A few things that happen which we now as family see in hindsight. Allah, hoe dit gebeur? That happened like that, that happened like that. Why was that so? This last Friday, Abu se ou wat hy kom ons en loop soos hy wil. You can't tell him you must stay longer or you must come this time. He will show up when he wants to. Bismillah, and he will leave when he's ready to leave. Bismillah. So this last Friday, he comes for family lunch, and usually after lunch, he wants to get home because he goes for his afternoon nap. But Friday, he decides now he's going to sit, and he's sitting there, and he's sitting with Muhammad Yusuf, and he's sitting with Kulthum, and he's playing some games on his phone, just relaxing there by our house, which was kind of strange, but Abu's most now Abu. He decided to stay today. We're all happy, alhamdulillah, and he sat a little bit longer the afternoon. Alhamdulillah, he gives me a call, and he says, come on, my friend. Come on, my friend. Who's his friend? Haji Ibrahim Patience, Allah yarhamu. And those of us that know Haji Ibrahim Patience, about 2 weeks ago, Haji Ibrahim, Fajr in the masjid, took his sister to the home affairs. Massive heart attack. Came by the paramedic, or paramedics got to the hospital, unable to resuscitate. Huge shock for the family. And what happens with us happens. And I get a phone call, Maulana, come through. And I drive through to the accident scene. And I get to my beloved father, alhamdulillah. He was removed from the car and he was placed on the side of the car over there. We were also told by the paramedics that, no signs of life have been found. Unfortunately, your father had passed on. We prepare ourselves, inna lillahi, and we come and we approach our beloved father, alhamdulillah. And I sit next to his head for 2 minutes. And I make dua, and I make dua, and I make dua. And I turn around, and what do I see? The 2 sons of Haji Ibrahim Patience. My 2 brothers that went through exactly the same thing, Sheikh. Exactly the same thing. They saw their father lost, and Papa reggemaak vir homself, masjid toe te gaan. Allahu Akbar. And I see them, and this was such a bishara for me. It was such a good news, such a glad tiding. That why did Allah send them? Why did you stop them, bro? No, they were just driving from Strand and they saw, somebody that looked like me, and then they stopped there, and it was actually me. Allahu Akbar. Al-mulku yawma idin wa fi hadha al-yawm lillah. The kingdom is on that day for Allah, and it is in this day for Allah. And we will never ever know and understand how Allah operates and how Allah does what He does. But kullu shay'in li ajalin musamma. every single thing on its time. Everything on its time. Nobody can rush anything faster, and nobody can make it take longer, because Allah will make it happen when Allah wants to make it happen. And nobody and no intention and no desire will ever change that. This is what we as Muslims have to learn. This is what we must accept. This is what we must accept. And this is how we must lead our lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us yaqeen in Him. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Over the last 2 days, it was quite unsettling. Everything what had happened. But alhamdulillah, myself and my family, my mother, and if she was here, I'm sure she would thank each and every one of you for being here, for filling this place up. And I'm sure that each and every one of you has an interaction with my father that you can share. You can share something of how he made you smile. And that again, my sister said, that was his sunnah that he followed. His sunnah was to bring a smile and to bring a happiness to the heart of a believer. إِدْخَالُ السُّرُورِ فِي قَلْبِ الْمُؤْمِنِ. That is what he loved to do. And subhanAllah, he had his own special way of doing it. And if you know, then you know. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So, there are actually 3 things that I would like to share on behalf. I don't want to say it's on behalf of my father, but if I could, then I probably would say it is on behalf of my father. This is what I sincerely believe that he would have shared, and what he would have given a nasiha to each and every person that he could. So, Bismillah. Number 1. The responsibility of a father is so huge, and there are so many things that a father must himself do with and for his family and with and for his children. Today is a time of madrasa. Alhamdulillah. We have madaris, and may Allah Ta'ala reward our ulama for all the great efforts that they put in. But in a great way, what I learned from my father for the last 40 years of my life, he took the bull by the horns himself. My father was my first teacher of Quran, alhamdulillah. He took it upon himself. And thereafter he sent me to others. My father was the one that took me to the Masjid, alhamdulillah. That is actually now point number 2. But here point number 1, this idea of I must do it myself. I must do it myself because it's my family and I must look after them. Alhamdulillah. I say this with no malice or no ill intent, but alhamdulillah, today we find that students would come and students go and they study and so forth, and we would contribute to their particular effort. So once upon a time there was an uncle that came, and Buddha Suleiman, alhamdulillah, a good businessman, and my kulong gaat 'n bietjie weg leer. If Buddha Suleiman can throw something in the potje, inshallah, it will be greatly appreciated. And they had a good interaction, but then Buddha Suleiman told him this: Buddha, your son wants to go learn the deen, and mashallah, there's a lot of madrasas here locally that your son can go to. But you now want to choose, you guys decided you want to send your son overseas. Buddha, you yourself must go work more and harder for your son to go study the deen. You mustn't go around and ask people to give you a slavat so that your son can go study the deen overseas. Allahu Akbar, it was shocking. So some might say, yo, kijk die Buddha. But that was Buddha Suleiman also. He would tell you the haqq, and you might push it away because you thought, oh, I see it now, a bitchy stink. But that was his way. He would tell you flat out, and we could never ever fault him because he had spoken the truth. In each one of those instances, he brought out the truth. And if anyone didn't like it, it was perhaps in the delivery that might not have been the best. But Allah alone knows that his intention was pure and crystal clear for the sake of Allah. That is the kind of mindset that he wanted to bring about. That is the father. It's my duty to teach my child to read Quran. It is my duty to teach my child to make salah. It is my duty and responsibility first, before anyone else. Alhamdulillah. My father used to take me to Masjid. And Sheikh Ibrahim now spoke about this a little bit at the house, but I need to elaborate a little bit more. Alhamdulillah. Growing up, he had this beautiful, I say now beautiful, but he had this bribery system, which I sort of figured out very early on. A bribery system. And what was the bribery system? My klomp, jy moet doen wat ek sê vir jou, jy moet doen. That was it. There would be no immediately attached to it. But later on, then he come with the ice cream. And later on, hey, did you bacha your lesson? Yes, Abu. Right, okay, bacha your lesson. The next day, then there's something there. Or you wanted to go, you want to play cricket? Abi, can I go buy a cricket bat? Hey, did you bacha today? Go sit there, go bacha your lesson. Go bacha my lesson. Then the next day, then the smart cricket bat is there. Or at the end of the week, I wanted to play table tennis. Abu, I want to play table tennis. Hey, did you bacha your lesson? Go bacha your lesson. Now go bacha my lesson. And then the next day, we go to the Masjid or we go wherever, and in by the sports shop, and here's a table tennis bat. Suma, iti raka it na. Not still a kunyati table tennis bat. Suma, kwai table tennis bat. Alhamdulillah. And this is how life went on. And I then later on went to my Ustaz Sheikh Muhammad Yusuf Wuli. And one of the things that he told us, and I hold on to this day, that if you look after your Quran, you look after your Quran, and Allah will look after you. You look after your Quran, and Allah will look after you. This was my Ustaz's wasiyah for me, and this was my father's effort of a wasiyah for me, and I would like to pass that on to each and every person sitting here. Wallahi, 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 wallahi. I have seen it so many times with my own eyes. You look after this Quran, and Allah will look after you. Whatever need and worry that you have, you go sit and go bacha Quran. Allah will sort it out. Whatever it is that is on your mind, go bacha your lesson. Allah will sort it out for you. This is Allah's promise, my dear brothers and sisters. This is Allah's promise. Let us take the word of Allah more and more and more seriously. Sheikh, that was, alhamdulillah, that was my father. He would drive cross country to come out by a khatam. In fact, my friend Maulana Munib from Worcester, he invited us once to come. And I thought, my wife, oh, it's a nice opportunity. We go for a little drive and we can go. I told him, can Allah make dua and so on. We're taking a drive. And we drove through the night to get to Worcester. We spent there for the program. And we recited and we recited. And the first raka'ah and the second raka'ah, and I say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And who's sitting there at the end of the saf? My beloved father drove on his own. He drove through on his own because he wanted to come partake in the khatam of Quran. So he drove from home to Worcester to come spend this time with us, reading and listening to the Quran. You look after the Quran, my dear brothers and sisters, and Allah will look after you. Number one. Number two, Masjid, 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 Masjid. Wallahi, Masjid, Masjid. Again, the bribery story. They by the parade, the old parade, I can't say parade, it was the parade geweest. When there was all the stalls over there, and then they had those little kiosks. Yo, I want to go for Fajr, because I want to get out there by the stall. Why? Because that time of the morning, the donuts and the kusistas is fresh. That donut is net so groot. So a donut and a milkshake, Allahu Akbar. And that was breakfast on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. Why? Because we must get to the masjid that is there by Muir Street.